Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you, Kurush, for the invitation. I am the least technical person, I will say that, so I'm just assuming I hit the green button, that's it? Okay, thanks. First of all, I'm just going to give you some of the aspirations that kind of guided our whole Smart Cities Challenge, that we really thought about. Imagine a smart city where all residents feel recognized and to digital services and connected to the community 24/7 and on a very personal, interactive level. Imagine an accessible city where there are no barriers. The door is wirelessly open and you can find available wheelchair accessible parking. Imagine an inclusive city where no one is left behind and even our most vulnerable are digitally enabled and expedited on a path of sustainable living. Imagine a digital city where free Wi-Fi and open data fuels new startups, enabling residents to create networks of communities of interest and design solutions to address real community problems. And then imagine a caring community where our nonprofit organizations in the community are actually connected to municipal and provincial data infrastructure, which could lead to better policy development and help to create more evidence-based decision-making to improve the lives of our residents. So these were some of the aspirations that really shaped our proposal and our 5 projects. I'm going to use my notes here. So Kurush already spoke about kind of the background with the Smart Cities Challenge. I did want to mention that we partnered with St. Mary's First Nation on our Smart Cities Challenge. So it was a first for our communities in working together. And we are actually in a, it's a unique position. Only a few urban cities in Canada actually have a First Nations community within the heart of the city. The Maliseet community, Willistic Way, is one of only 6 communities actually existing on the planet. And we share history, we share the land, we share the river, the St. John River, which is known as the Willistic. So that was kind of the starting point of our challenge. We took a very collaborative approach. We involved over 42 people from various organizations, nonprofits, thought leaders, academics, and basically had the community come together and roll up their sleeve to be part of our task force and to bring our 5 projects to fruition. Through an extensive engagement process, which was mentioned before, we polled the community on issues and sought their ideas on what types of innovative data and technology solutions that could address our challenges. As a result, we developed our vision centered on empowerment and inclusion, and there were 6 buckets through Infrastructure Canada. So that is what we went out to the community and we sought their ideas. Our vision was Fredericton and St. Mary's are collaborating to create an accessible, welcoming, supportive community, starting with our most vulnerable. And in our community, that was older adults. It was the people who were experiencing homelessness. It was our youth, our newcomers, people who have accessibility limitations. Although we didn't win the challenge, I really feel that we're winners. We received $250,000 to advance 5 projects, and right now we're just in the process of right-sizing them. So resident engagement was the cornerstone of our challenge. Our approach, and I really wanted to talk about this today in a little bit more detail, was really deeply involving the residents and stakeholders in the design of our solutions, and that has been a common theme that various people have touched on today, and essentially really understanding what our residents' needs are and then connecting them to the services and resources to meet those needs. So I would say in the past, the municipalities took a very generalized approach to the customer. We developed projects, thought, oh, this is a great idea, and then you roll them out. But today, post-Cities Challenge, we're really precisely defining and recognizing who that customer is. And during the challenge, we focused on 2 segments, older adults and those with accessibility limitations. So the first part of this iterative process, which we developed during the challenge, was was to recognize our residents. We used ethnography, so that was having really in-depth conversations, one-on-one conversations, say with older adults, and I'm going to talk about an example. But really gaining insights about what their needs and wants are. What are their pain points? What's preventing them from having a good day? We actually did some walkabouts with some of our citizens. We did a day in a life tour, which I'm going to show you in a short video in a little bit, where we actually strapped a GoPro to a young gentleman who was in a wheelchair and really experienced what his day is like and the barriers that he faces. We developed distinct empathy-based personas, and then we ideated on what kind of solutions could help address those challenges, and we developed 3 prototypes during our Smart Cities project. Finally, we tested our findings. We used traditional methods like using surveys, but the most interesting to me was learning the process of user-centered design, citizen co-creation, which has been talked about today. And it was a really interesting process because, you know, we have these ideas of what we think is great, but when you're sitting down with an actual citizen and looking at it through their eyes and getting them to interact with it and really confirm whether it's a good idea or testing your assumptions was extremely valuable. And then, of course, connecting them with what matters. This slide is an example of the ethnography research we did targeting older adults. And I won't get into the extreme detail, but we developed 3 personas at 3 different levels of older adulthood. And what we discovered during our research was a group of older ladies who established their own safety network. They didn't have children living close by, so they had this online Scrabble game. And every day, if one of them didn't check in at 9 o'clock in the morning, that was kind of the cue for someone to follow up and check on them. And it ended up being, it gives me goosebumps every time I tell this story because it ended up being life-saving because they found one of the ladies in a diabetic coma and she almost died. So using that problem and those insights, we developed a solution, a prototype that we called Check-in Companion. So, and that is on our website. So we have 5 projects. I'm just going to go through these quickly and then touch on one in particular. But Digital Fredericton was kind of the backbone of our Smart Cities Challenge, essentially transforming, modernizing government, switching everything from kind of the antiquated systems to cloud-hosted systems and platforms. And I'm told we're going to be the first municipality in Canada completely hosted in the cloud. So we've been rolling that out, and then based on created efficiencies, we're redeploying staff to more customer-facing roles. We're going through that whole iterative engagement model that I mentioned before for every customer segment. So it may take us a little bit longer now, but that is the plan go forward. And then lastly, the 3rd layer, which I'm really excited about, is the connected community layer. So that's where we're engaging with our entrepreneurs and getting them to help us design solutions to address real problems and creating that living lab environment. Oh, sorry, I'm a little behind with my slides. So Durable, we partnered with a young Indigenous entrepreneur. Her company is called AppDizzy, and basically her vision is to create a living lab for accessibility. And it really crystallizes what we're trying to do with that connected community layer. She is developing a solution that will help persons with accessibility and mobility limitations. And she has designed a prototype. We're piloting it at 6 sites in the city right now, but it wirelessly opens doors. And it has a whole data analytics layer. So we're going to use that information to help inform, maybe infrastructure upgrades and, municipal decision making. And I just want to really show you a quick video here. Thank you so much, Krish, for uploading that. What do I do? Oh. Do you know what Oh, the video's not there? Okay. Anyway, it's on our website. It's just a really short video, but it's the young guy that I was talking about in the wheelchair. And it just really, really drives home what we just don't understand about the barriers that people face. So the road home was another example of connecting a vulnerable segment of our population, those who are chronically and episodically homeless, with what matters. We rolled out during the challenge a shared case management platform connecting all the homeless serving agencies. So essentially, it's reducing redundancies in the system. It's helping to improve clients' quality of life. They're not having to retell their story every time they go into a different service agency, which is what was happening. It's reducing wait times, and it's also enabling data collection so that we really can show that evidence-based value that these agencies are providing to our communities. So, the Nonprofit Data Collaboration Project, I mentioned that briefly before when I was talking about the vision, but the NPOs are not connected to provincial municipal data infrastructure. So the vision with this project was really to lead to, help influence policy development, identify gaps. We've put this project on the back burner for now, but we're hoping at some point that we can pursue it somehow. And the Digital Community Hub, that was our primary project to connect residents with what they need on a personal level. We developed a prototype. It's on our website as well, using that ethnography research and the user-centered design. We focused on persons with accessibility limitations and older adults. So have a look at it. But we really felt that the whole idea was that based on what your needs were, you would go in and then basically it would curate a menu, a list of resources, tools, and information that you would need maybe on a personal level. So it was an interesting project. So finally, lessons learned, and I'll just kind of talk briefly about these, but I think the main point I wanted to hit home was collaboration, that it's not something that you can do alone, and I think that was the essential ingredient in our success with the Smart Cities Challenge, was just bringing everybody together. The opportunity for First Nations partnerships. This was kind of a first project. We had the first joint meeting of our councils. We're working towards a friendship accord. St. Mary's First Nations is just brimming with lots of young entrepreneurs with great ideas, so there will be more to come. Of course, having a really clear vision, charting our course, but digging deep with the public engagement. That was absolutely critical, and truly representing the voice of the citizenry and being able to create public value around what they are looking for, and that citizen-centric approach, because I really realized going through the process of the challenge that we have so many assumptions. You don't even realize sometimes the assumptions you make, and it really forced us to really see things, kind of turn the triangle upside down. So the citizen coming first, seeing it through the citizen lens, and then going through testing and refining, and that it's okay to make mistakes and that you can go sideways. Whereas in the past, we were just looking for, kind of the shortest, most efficient way to maybe create a program or a new service and roll it out. Protecting data and privacy, I learned, is a really highly complex business, and I realized how much we really didn't know going through and developing a preliminary privacy impact assessment. I'm sure Leon can understand. Anyways, we learned a lot through that process, and that will carry us forward in the future. And then finally, what it means to be a smart city and finding new ways to enable civic innovation. And since the Smart Cities Challenge, that's been something I've really been focused on, of what we can do as a municipality, working more with our citizens, with our entrepreneurs, giving them an access point to be able to come in. We've deployed a LoRaWAN network using Internet of Things, IoT network sensors. We've been doing lots of use cases and testing and hackathons and bringing the community in. So for us, it's all about that citizen co-creation, and we'll be continuing on that path. So anyways, thank you very much.